Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Fallout New Vegas. So, we've hit a point now where there's just nothing more to do. And this is a problem I have run into pretty much every time I've played a Bethesda game, is that I would like to finish this not much quest, but I can't do it because my relationship, as best as I can tell with the NCR, is not just at the highest possible relationship, because other quests caused me to lower my relationship with the NCR. I can't finish this quest because it's bugged, and all of this is DLC, which I'm making a big assumption here, but I'm pretty sure it's right. Finishing any of these DLC quests is probably not going to affect your relationship with the NCR at all. So all I can really do is talk to Yes Man, and I would have had to have just remembered that. The only other way to adjust the relationship would be to level up, but there really isn't a way to level up and get that much XP. Let's see, we need roughly 2,200 XP. You're just not going to get that in increments of 50, 10, or 1 XP, depending on what animals you would run around to specific spots to try and find. Even if I did get to level 40, I still am not sure that level 40 would be high enough to get the perk to reset your relationship. And it's not even like the relationship is bad, it's just not idolized. It's just not high enough. So we have to finish the game effectively with the Yes Man quest, or at least move the Yes Man quest along. Here's a great example of a fairly interesting visual that you're not likely to ever really see. This game, like most video games, keeps you at fairly eye level. Sometimes it even wants you looking down on the ground. For visual reasons alone, getting rid of booby traps and mines might be fairly helpful, or at least always putting them at a distance where you're supposed to spot them while looking parallel to the horizon. But yeah, when I spawn in here, I look at this. I get the edge of Gomorrah, I get the tops, which is mostly going to keep my attention, or this door, and I'll see this. But looking at the Lucky 38 and looking at the top here, that takes extra effort, and you just won't be trained in this game to look around, which is kind of silly to say that you won't be looking around in a game that is constantly having you look around for items to pick up. So we're gonna go to the penthouse, not the presidential suite, which weirdly still doesn't allow you to bring in your companions. That's just hard programmed, even though we've already gotten rid of Mr. House. The argument as far as items that you would like to put on display is to actually drop them in this location and then right click an object, say this, and then just maneuver it in this awkward way. Maybe with a mouse and keyboard that would make more sense, but it's not like some of the DLC for Skyrim where you have trophy stands where you can hang specific guns on the walls and show off things. And the reason that they say you should do this in this location versus your presidential suite is because when you put items in the refrigerators or the dressers or chest, whatever is available in there, if it's an item that is better than what your companions have when you send the companions there, they're just programmed to go and take it out of the trunk. If their health is low and they want to take a Nuka-Cola out of your inventory, they will take a Nuka-Cola out of your inventory. Which, yeah, that is not what you generally would expect. You would expect that if you put something somewhere, it would be there later. Again, it gets right down to the idea of having NPCs just have their own lives that they're living, having them wander around instead of just staying put in a specific location. These are not statues. You can't decorate them with costumes. There are no mannequins anywhere to display costumes and outfits. You can't interact with this bookshelf and put all your magazines and books there. Although magazines on a bookshelf probably would not be the best way to display them. There's a lot of books here that clearly there was at some point a thought that this would be something you could decorate more of. And certainly if your companions were wandering around here, this would be a fairly large area, so you'd have more room, but it would be a little too large of an area. Also, if this was going to be the house, I would expect your companions should just have designated chairs that they would sit around and stay in that one position. What would be really irritating is if you could use the oven here to actually cook. But yeah, if you wanted to display items, you would do that. But it is also fairly questionable. Let's say if I was to drop Annabelle here, like that's going to be difficult to try and pick up and display properly when there really should just be a fixed centered spot. And I've complained about this game having just way too much as far as items anyways. And so it is kind of crazy to say display stands should be an item that are added, but yeah, it really should. You'd get some real value from that. Okay, so for the actual story, since we've been avoiding this for hours and hours and hours, Yes Man is going to ask us to go and do one of two things, which is either support the NCR, which is what I'd like to do, or just not so much support the NCR. It's all very much anti-Legion as they attack Hoover Dam.
President Kimball survived his visit to Hoover Dam. Nice one. Now, moving on. Don't stay away too long. Are you ready to head for the dam? Caesar's Legion is due to attack it.
See, that's confusing just how messed up the interface even is.
Great. So I've been looking over Mr. House's force projections and running some calculations. It turns out there are two ways we can win this thing. Hear that? We have options. You could route the dam's power output to the facility under Fortification Hill. That'll restart its reactor, just like you did with the Lucky 38. That'll wake up the Securitron army you left on standby and give us enough force to push the Legion and the NCR straight out of the Mojave. The other option is destroy the dam's generators. Without those, it's just a big bunch of concrete. The NCR won't have any reason to stick around. You don't have to decide yet. For now, all you have to do is take this override module and install it on the terminal in the power control room. Good luck. See you at the dam.
So, yeah. Either way, you're still driving out the NCR in this case, which, yeah, that's really not the option I'd want to choose. As corrupt as the NCR is supposedly, they really don't do a great job showing it, it is the only real hope for moving a society forward. Like, tribal warfare just cannot stand. Constant fighting. Sadly, this is a one world government argument that I'm making, but yeah, eventually progress and people and democracy hopefully will all get settled out and corruption won't be so high that all tribes would be converged into countries, into states, and then states might become United States of some sort, and then United States might become entire unions and or one world governments of a sense. And certainly in this case, with so few humans left in a post-apocalypse, you need to have that happen faster. So yeah, none of the other tribes, not the Great Khans, not the Brotherhood of Steel, not Legion. Legion did want to unify everybody under the rule of Caesar, but it's just far too ignorant a way to do it. It's not planning ahead. It's not really thinking of what kind of society you would be creating in this process. Just getting people and killing a lot of people is counterproductive. And very much the game is written so that you would want to side with the NCR. So, on the other hand, we are just making ourselves the autocrat here. That's our only really option. So we're going to be in charge instead of House being in charge. Mr. House being in charge. And so if this was the canonical end and everything goes the way it seems like it's going to go, then in the Amazon Prime Fallout TV series, it might be a case that you just run into a character that is the courier instead of Mr. House. But there's just nothing else we can do. So I clicked yes, let's do this. And then let us go back to the casino. And then just make sure Raul, which his companion quest.
Be honest, you did it for the ticker tape parades, huh, boss?
Let's see, we could talk to him.
Sure, boss.
But there's
anything you say, boss.
Nothing more to say to him, so I wonder.
Never been a big fan of right behind.
So I wonder if I may have just done Raul's companion quest because it's such a small thing already. Yep. Let's just make sure these guys are actually going to walk and follow me. We have do we have the item, or did something go weird there? There should be a quest item here that would be a communication override chip. You'd think maybe it would be under just override chip. I would think it would be under miscellaneous. Did I not start the quest? Maybe I just needed to talk to him one more time. Maybe it was just a warning on a warning on a warning. Just double check. Because it would be kind of silly to go all the way to the Hoover Dam location.
Are you ready to head for the dam? It turned.
Oh, so the default thing is I'm not ready yet. I needed to go down and click let's do this. This is basically the only point in this game when they do a default to the negative. And while that is the default way it should be always, you just don't get these kind of pop-up and warnings. These pop-up and warnings would have been helpful in a few other places certainly, but we don't get them. Okay.
You must get to the control room and install the override chip.
Here's a great example of just having multiple people talking at the same time, and they haven't really programmed any of that. Okay. So are they going to just attack me because I have a Securitron with me? Or are we just going to have scripted experiences? Let's see. Gain some karma. Alright, so we are siding with the NCR with the Securitron. They don't seem to care too much about that. We have 41 more things. And you know what? We'll just go ahead and assume to not pick up anything, even though they do seem like they might be equipped with so that just hit the edge there. It seems like you have to get fairly close. I just don't think the targeting here is particularly good. Yep, it really isn't. And with a missile, you can basically just hit the wall. So there's, I guess, the boomers helping some more. Although I'm not sure if this isn't really just particularly scripted stuff and it's not really changing much. Okay. As far as I can tell, seems like we're going down here, and that maybe there'll just be a lot more fighting happening in this whole setup. There's kind of nothing here. There's nothing to control. So let's look at the local map and see what we were supposed to have done. It definitely just feels like there's a desperate desire here to make this feel like a mass-scale military combat scenario, when this game is not designed in any way to particularly work like that. I guess maybe the idea here is that you would have been able to jump down at some point, but nah, that doesn't seem right. And yeah, it doesn't feel like you can just fight either. It just feels like this fight would go on forever. Just aim for their feet and you can blow them up. This door is inaccessible. inaccessible. Eddie is unconscious, so what happens when I leave a room? Eddie is back. Okay. Hoover Dam offices. It says it's where we're going to. And seemingly nobody's going to get suspicious. Nobody's going to care at all. If you were playing for Caesar's side, I imagine this would be a nightmare scenario where you were just running around fighting everybody. But yeah, I'm not seeing any enemies from Legion. Interesting. He's on the desk. Oh, there we are. Definitely felt like more of that could happen. Means that we would just have more Legion running around. Mike Lawson is apparently negative, and apparently he is negative. So did I just mess up by shooting? I think I probably did. That Annabelle as a missile launcher is just not realistic. Let's instead take a cowboy repeater. See, yeah, he's in green at the moment. Infamy being gained with Caesar's Legion is not really a problem. The bigger problem here is just trying to figure out where to go. Yeah, definitely not enough people here. It definitely just doesn't feel like it's being overrun, and then you're magically seeing a significantly larger amount of NCR troopers and Legion people. The level design here is being completely betrayed by the lack of enemies. And maybe some of that's my fault. Maybe if I was playing on normal or hardcore mode, I would have 5-10 times as many enemies. Seriously. Is that not where I'm supposed to go? No, that's absolutely where I'm supposed to go. And this has been barricaded off. So I'm just going to go ahead and I think I have to go back out the way I came. Okay. Hoover Dam Power Plant 1. What quest are we really on? Oh, I'm not on the right quest. Okay, well that is going to solve an issue. Certainly.
Let's get going.
Yeah. By being on the wrong quest, I'm going in the wrong direction. That's pretty obvious. Would have thought the game would have done a better job of pointing me to the right direction and putting me on the right quest. I thought these computer screens were going to end up doing something, and maybe they will.
Stop right there. No one is allowed into the control room.
Okay. So we do have to decide now how we're going to handle this. Either we fight or we hide. And as far as hiding goes, I don't think that's gonna work. Is there another way into the control room? I think there may very well be. Let's see. Local map, no, there's no other way. So we do have to betray the NCR a little bit, even though we were about to betray them a lot. So best case scenario would be to be hidden and then shoot these guys, unless we can pants them, explode them. Do we have something that we could pit pocket these guys with? Yeah, and that didn't work. So now we are a dark hero and a wild child with the NCR. And it's not exactly how I'd want to end this game, but whatever.
Hi! Nice to see you again. So, we can blow up the dam's generators, or I could route the dam's entire power output to the fort. That'll activate a certain army of Securitrons and set them loose to ravage the Legion. What do you say?
See, weirdly, I just think for society in the long run, blowing up the generators is a terrible thought. Whereas powering the fort is not as bad of a thought, but then the Securitrons could just run around killing way more people in the long run. It's impossible to really do the math. So let's just send power to the fort.
Yes! This is gonna be fun! I'm unlocking the East Power Plant. Hit the manual switch, then go topside and deal with the Legion and NCR.
Okay. So, is that a button over here? Let's look at the local world map. No, there's a button over here. And there's stuff to grab here, but I'm going to become overburdened very quickly. Yep. And if I'm not going to blow them up, the Securitron's going to blow them up. I guess combine the super sledge and equip the cowboy repeater. These guys, on the other hand, probably going to have less valuable items on them. Yeah, I think I just am going to propose to... Yep, here we can see Yes Man. I think the proposal here is to just clean up later. We'll just search all the dead bodies after the fact. And I would say this is not particularly on my head that a lot of these people are dead because they're fighting each other. So, yeah, it does seem like they are just kind of scripted. now they want me to exit out of the east side of the dam. Over here. This would have made a lot more sense to not get a Securitron or be given the option to not take a Securitron with you. You don't really need that extra companion on very easy mode, and that would certainly play more towards a stealth ending or stealth approach. Of course, I don't think that those heavy armor people were going to let me through no matter what, unless maybe, just maybe, you would have been let through if your reputation was just at the perfect idolized level. So what are we supposed to see? I see a vertibird flying that direction. I see Dr. Henry here. I see Cannibal Johnson here. Oh, here's all my guys. Ready to go. I'd forgotten about the remnants also being willing to fight. Apparently, I took the wrong quest. Head to the Legate's camp and deal with the Legion and Caesar's Legion. I suppose that means we're going downward this way. And then we've got to find a different way out of here. The design here is weird, to say the least. Okay. And here we have Judah Krieger. And just all of the remnants willing to fight on our side. It's almost like what they didn't want you to get too confused with the whole process. So yeah, we can just see Securitrons now are killing probably everybody. Yep. Where are we on the map? Everything seems a little backwards. Yeah, I think we are on the other side of the Hoover Dam that was inaccessible through that door. Yeah. It's just scrap metal from the Securitrons. Yep. So as far as I can tell, this is the other side of the door. We're going the opposite direction of really where we should be going. My gun skills are at such a high level, at least on very easy mode, that this is really just highlighting how overpowered you would probably be at the end of the game always. I think this is the Securitron that was maybe following us. See, I don't even know if I really want to wander that far. I don't think that there's going to actually be anything here. Yeah, unless this gate is actually a door. And we are supposed to go through this. Yeah, this is it. Okay, well, I'm glad we went this direction. So then that means that actually Eddie is closer to where the half of the Hoover Dam had been blocked. And so this whole situation here is just going to be yet another fast travel, which really highlights that the game obviously was not as polished and finished as it really should be. That there should be areas in this way which you actually walk, because you walk to every other location instead of just a fast travel to the Legate's camp, which we've never seen before. And so I assume this is just going to be a Yep. I assume this is just going to be the shooting gallery. And we probably won't, like, local map, see anything. You have a lot more crucifixion crosses. And best case scenarios, we'll come back to this and we'll find some corpses of named characters. The assumption here would have been that everything here, I guess you can just take, so we might think about doing that later. There may be a lot of cleanup work. This would be the assumption, is that the second in charge guy was running the army from this location. I guess we can just follow the arrow. The other assumption is also that the fort is completely eliminated of any life, because the Securitrons would have just attacked them. It's just way too many crucifixion crosses. It comes off more.
An envoy of Vegas, yet you carry yourself for battle. If so, you cannot truly be of that city of cowards.
So here we have Legate Lanius, who might be the burned man, wearing his mask. Let's see. What, Caesar giving you orders beyond the grave? I'm here to kill you. The Legion's advance ends here. Nice mask, can't wait to make it a trophy. If you think you've got any chance of taking Hoover Dam, maybe you're willing to listen to reason. Let's go with reason. It's always worth trying it. Legate Lannis doesn't sound like somebody who's reasonable, but if we could negotiate a ceasefire between the Legion and NCR, and then they worked together and they created a much better society that would be better as far as saving lives, which lives are very precious, one would assume. They're not treated precious in this game, but in a post-apocalyptic scenario, lives would be incredibly precious.
I see you fight with words, like all beneath the flag of the bear. Let us hope your skill with weapons proves greater.
Let's see. We have a speech where we can bluff. Persist and learn what Graham learned at the dam in Boulder City. The battle is decided, that's why I'm here. Speech 55. We could also barter. Obviously we want to take one of these because it'll give us XP.
You dare speak that name. Comparing him to any man of Kaiser will only earn you a slow death. You think me some lesser man, some other legate? I am the first of the Legion, and this gate to the west shall be ours this day.
And so our speech, I think, is almost at maximum. So we can just continue to bluff.
You believe your own words, even if I do not. Perhaps NCR has the strength of a cornered animal. It will not be enough to hold this place. They know nothing of my tactics or the strength of my forces.
See, this is the problem with some of the other Fallout games too, is that you like a lot of the big story encounters often can just be solved with speeches, but none of the small or even medium encounters can be solved with speech. You don't get attacked by random Viper gang members and have a way to talk your way through out of it. And so it comes off just very anticlimactic. I'm hoping here my speech is just at 100. Otherwise, I mean, well, this would be in red if it wasn't.
We did take the towers easier than expected. I cannot believe even the Republic would overlook such an opening in their defenses. Yet we are at the throat of the Great Bear. Victory is at hand.
Notice we cannot read a yeah, we can't read any magazines here to help you. So we have like 3 bluff options, all speech 90. Your success was way too easy though, wasn't it? I think you think you reached it by chance. Graham did not smell the C4 until he entered Boulder. He only smelled victory. How could a lone opponent reach you so easily then? Let's see. Seems like all of these are the same, so let's go with the first one, I guess.
You play on my instincts. Yet your intention in this. You have nothing to gain by telling me of this trap. Unless you seek to goad me into a retreat, leaving the battlefield and leaving my honor here to be trampled underfoot by Republic cowards.
And so we succeeded on all of that, and it still didn't finish the encounter. They're among the Legion who would see you fall as Graham did. Let's see, we could also lie to him and maybe lose some karma. Perhaps the treachery of your own rank disgusts you as it disgusts me.
Of course, and I guard myself from such acts of cowardice and jealousy. You claim that word of my coming has been given to the West so that I might die here. Even as I take the dam, telling me this does not benefit you at all. You gamble with your words, and your coin is lacking.
So yeah, they're using the phrases of gambling. If you return to the East and exact vengeance, it buys the West time and thins out the Legion ranks. When your own must ally with the West in order to remove you, such treachery must be answered. I do not wish to tie this day, it is true, but nor do I wish to win through trickery. Worth the gamble now for a hard way. Sick of tired. Let's end this.
If what you say is true, then they shall answer for it. But you suggest I turn from battle to answer these crimes, when I can prove myself greater by meeting them than returning with the dam as ours. You almost convinced me otherwise, but justice comes to all in time, and it now comes to you.
So it just feels like there are a lot of speech checks here, and a bad player is just going to fail the speech checks. So I have a speech 80, plus I apparently have a high enough karma. Any man can claim bravery when he's outnumbered by his opponents, or we can bluff. If you're such a terror of the East, call off your dogs and face me one-on-one. Let's go with this one.
I have seen little of true battle this day, and you were brave to come here to face me when all of NCR would not. I shall honor your last words and face you alone. No man will say I refused your challenge.
So in the end, you just have a fight. It's not a very good arena for a fight. And my whole setup here is not particularly good. Didn't give you any time to really use the fight. He's just kind of getting stuck in the wall. And it is not really a one-on-one fight, so not just my companions are helping. Blade of the East and Legate helmet. Interesting. So, what I want to do here is drop off some items. Roll.
I'm sure you'll be
Because
fair
I
in that
just don't
road,
want to.
boss.
You can't take anything, can he? Oh, that's gonna be a problem. Yep. Okay. So map-wise, as we're moving the story forward, we didn't even really see the entirety of the Legate camp. We'll just hope we can fast travel back to it later. Now it just wants me to go back to the, I guess, the Hoover Dam. And I guess they're going to speed up the process for me and not let me fast travel. So here we have a bunch of rangers.
Caesar on the cross. Been a long time since I've seen the kind of work you've laid down today. A damn long time. And the screams of those Legion bastards as they kick dirt running east like a choir of angels to my ears. Speaking of, that crazy light show over the fort? What the fuck was that? Some kind of thumb of God you called down? Amazing. Fucking amazing.
I didn't even
Could
use
100
that.
of you. Just scatter you over the east like jacks. Give those plum fucks the what for.
So, yeah, it's crazy to have just a whole new character introduced at the end of the game instead of the commander at the Hoover Dam, which was a lady. Let's see. So, let's support our allies. Hold that thought, General. I want to introduce you to some friends. Can't take all the credit. Had some help from my allies here.
And, well, these boys with you? Hello there, Smiley. Guess it ain't no secret how you, I say, can you ask them to put their weapons down? Was just reaching in my coat to give you a cigar.
So, here we go. Do we send the NCR? So we could say Securitrons erase the NCR from this area. The dam is one for me. You and the Legion have both lost this day. General Oliver Hoover Dam is ours. Leave at once. I suggest you leave before my boys open fire on your men. So we gotta get rid of the NCR, which is not really what I'd like to do. Let's see. Yep. So this seems like this is the nicest way to say it. But maybe a more direct approach is better.
I would sooner spit on the grave of my dead mother than let some courier walk the wasteland fuck talk to me like that. Who the hell do you think you are? Looking to cash your chips to the sound of NCR bullets, huh? I can oblige.
Let's see. Are you sure that's wise? I don't want any more violence. There's been enough today.
Look, I know you're riding high right now, but let me tell you, you ain't pissing on me right now. You're pissing on the bear. You've been far enough west, I'm guessing, to know how far that claw stretches. Fuck with the bear and...
Let's see. I was hoping we could be pleasant about this.
You want me to make tracks out of here? Head back west? Tail between our legs? No. I came for a fight today. And if you're looking to make me budge, you better have a damn good left hook or I'm not going anywhere.
Speech 100 bluff because you're talking and not attacking. Also, I could say, you think these robots are all the force I have. I don't even know if the boomers have actually shown up yet.
Yeah. But I wasn't expecting a fight when I came up here. And now that we're talking, I don't like the sound of things. Do you know what you're doing? Making a nation like you think you're doing ain't like chowing down on a pile of fancy lad snack cakes. Think you got the guts to carve out a frontier? Build towns, protect the roads, run supplies, train troops?
My sycophant, yes man, is who he's talking about. Let's see. Republic, not doing really a great job, that's for sure. I guarantee I've put more thought into the state of the Mojave than you or anyone in the NCR. Honestly, I think that probably is true, so let's go with that.
Hell. Can't believe we got suckered by some road jockey. Should have watched the flank while Caesar's best was making all that noise. I know what those robots of yours can do on a bad day, and I'm not eager to toss lies at them just to make a point. But if you're taking this place, you better hope you can hold it. I'll give my superiors my opinion, but I don't think they're going to listen. So if NCR comes at you, and it will, pray you're ready. I promise you, our situation's reversed, I'd see you hang.
So we could just throw him off the Hoover Dam. Let's see. That day's not likely to come. Is that all? Because I've got work to do and NCR awards don't mean much around here.
Fine. Come on, men. We're moving out.
So we return yes man.
You did a super
Do we
job wrapping things
don't
up,
really
and I'm
return
not just
anywhere,
saying
he
that
came to
because
you.
I have to. I didn't want to make a big deal about this until after we won, but, well, I found some code snippets in one of Mr. House's databanks that will let me, reprogram my personality to be a little more assertive, basically. So that's what I'm going to be doing, and it's going to take me a while, so it'll seem like I'm offline. But don't worry, everything will be okay. I've updated the Securitron's targeting parameters so they know what to do. Vegas will be protected. So that's where I'll be, off making a few changes. And I guess I'll see you around. We accomplished a lot together.
So we've just put yes man in charge accidentally.
And so the courier who had cheated death in the cemetery outside Good Springs cheated death once again, and the Mojave Wasteland was forever changed. The courier, with the aid of Yes Man, drove both the Legion and the NCR from Hoover Dam, securing New Vegas's independence from both factions. With Mr. House out of the picture, part of the Securitron army was diverted to the Strip to keep order. Any chaos on the streets was ended. Quickly. Chaos became uncertainty, then acceptance with minimal loss of life. New Vegas assumed its position as an independent power in the Mojave. Supporting the ideals of independence, the courier was recognized as the woman responsible for a truly free New Vegas. She ensured that Mr. House's tyranny was broken, and that neither Caesar's Legion nor NCR would ever gain control over New Vegas.
Though some super mutants in Nightkin continued to journey to the legendary Utopia, they found little trace of its existence. Some eventually found their way to Jacobstown, but many wandered off into the wastes, confused and disheartened.
Still grappling with self-doubt over his usefulness in the face of old age, Raul was never able to find peace with himself.
So he didn't do that
Eventually,
quest.
He left the Mojave and assumed a new name, as he had done so many times before.
Though the wasteland became anarchic after Hoover Dam, the Boomers' display of power dissuaded fortune seekers from attempting to penetrate Nellis.
Though she'd seen the writing on the wall, the destruction of the Mojave Brotherhood came far more suddenly than Veronica had expected. The news devastated her. Despite her best efforts to leave her past behind, she found herself compelled to make one final journey to Hidden Valley. There, she paid her last respects to the only family she had ever known.
Their leaders destroyed by the courier, the fiends scattered throughout the wasteland. Without the organization of Motor Runner, Cook, Violet, and driver Nephi, they were easy prey.
After the courier ensured New Vegas remained free, the followers found that independent Vegas was even more unstable and violent than before. Old Mormon Fort became excessively burdened by the influx of patients, struggling to provide even the most basic of services.
Arcade was tending to the locals of Freeside when he learned that Caesar's Legion had been defeated, and NCR was being pushed out of New Vegas. Though he found that independence for New Vegas was not all he hoped it would be, Arcade did his best to help the locals govern themselves.
With New Vegas's independence formally declared, Goodsprings thrived. More travelers stopped by Goodsprings on their way to and from the Strip, and the locals grew prosperous from the traffic.
The slaughter of the Van Graffs and the Crimson Caravan caused no end of trouble for NCR back west. Already struggling, NCR's supply line suffered further as the two caravans withdrew support until the massacre in the east was resolved. Cass lived to see the courier bring down 3 armies, and by her count, that was 3 more than she'd expected. She kept quiet about that, though.
After generations of being beaten down, the great Khans were finally broken by the courier. Those few who avoided the courier's wrath moved north into the wilderness of Idaho, where they tried once more to rebuild.
Thanks to the courier and Lily, a cure for the Nightkin's schizophrenia was found shortly after Dr. Henry's experiment concluded. Nightkin and other super mutants in the wasteland flocked to Jacobstown, and the town became known as a haven where a mutant could find peace.
Lily continued to take her medicine at half doses, and although she remembered her grandchildren, her mind remained muddled and confused. Eventually, she parted ways with the courier and traveled west, seeking the remnants of her past.
With the king dead and most of their gang slain by the courier, the remaining kings fled the area, never to be heard from again.
Revitalized by Violetta's brain, Rex eventually learned to balance the memories of his old life with Violetta's experiences among the brutal fiends. His mind had difficulty adjusting, but Rex eventually found peace with his new, more vicious self.
Shaped up by the courier's advice, the Misfits distinguished themselves during the Legion's attack on Camp Golf. Mags was finally promoted to sergeant, and the rest of the Misfits received an official commendation. They continued to serve with distinction for many years.
Though Novak was a low-priority target for the Legion, many of Novak's citizens died in its defense. In the weeks that followed, several bright followers returned to Novak to help restore its defenses, allowing it to remain independent of NCR.
Though NCR was withdrawing from the region, Boone remained in New Vegas, finding work as a security guard and caravan scout along the highways. While he might have preferred rejoining his old unit, Boone couldn't bring himself to abandon the city where he'd met his wife.
After Hoover Dam, the leaderless powder gangers at the correctional facility vanished into the wastes, leaving the prison empty. The correctional facility became another abandoned ruin in the wasteland, its carcass occasionally picked over by enterprising prospectors.
After the majority of the Vault 19 powder gangers joined the Great Khans, the weaker members scattered throughout the Mojave Wasteland. Though a few managed to erase their past, most never survived the journey.
Prim Slim proves to be an able-minded, if not able-bodied, sheriff for Prim. And due to his slow speed, some crooks get away without a scratch. But Prim continues to prosper under his watchful robotic eye.
After the death of Chief Hanlon, the power of NCR's Rangers was broken for years. Their organization,
so reliant on the wisdom and guidance of its elder members, became a shadow of what it once was to people across the wasteland.
After their bold arrival at Hoover Dam, the remnants disappeared as quickly as they came. Legends of their power spread throughout the Southwest, a reminder of why people once feared the sight of vertibirds in the sky.
And so the Courier's road came to an end, for now. In the new world of the Mojave Wasteland, fighting continued, blood was spilled, and many lived and died just as they had in the old world. Because war never changes.
So, Fallout games always start and end with war never changes. That was way too much dialogue. One of those characters we never even saw in the game at all. The sheriff of Prim, we never even saw that guy. Somehow we were supposed to have, I guess, met him or saved him earlier in the game. And then the idea of Raul's campaign quest not going anywhere, it's a shame we couldn't figure out how to make that happen, but it seems like obviously there was something there that needed to have happened more. And then the super mutants looking for Utopia, whatever it was called. Apparently there was some kind of quest there that I never even started that was considered a major quest. But on the face of it, on top of that just being way too long as far as dialogue, and then we have the credits here, which, you know, might have been better if the credits were playing while you were explaining what happens as far as a recap. Like, none of those events really felt too important to me. Yeah. As I see it, Fallout New Vegas, the good parts of it are probably just running around and role-playing and just probably playing on a much higher difficulty than very easy, because you kind of need that challenge for it to have an appeal. I feel it's crazy. We never saw this Rita's Cafe, so I don't know why they had loading screens talk about that, really. There are several elements in New Vegas that are different from Fallout 3, and I don't think any of them really are better. We still have the DLC to do, but the game itself, storyline-wise, seems to be pretty much over. Now, if the game was over at this point and you could do a New Game Plus, maybe that would be an intriguing idea, but I don't know what I would change too much as far as the New Game Plus concept. Anyways, like, what you would be forced to do almost certainly is play and side with Legion on a New Game Plus to see a lot more of the content. That also would probably get you some endings that are different. I don't think that there is a possible way, even following a walkthrough guide, that you would get all positive outcomes at the end there. I think it is mutually exclusive. But yeah, there's that all was very anticlimactic, and I just don't know how they could have made that more interesting. And I've been covering this game, talking about what would modern games like this, how should those go, what elements should be in a modern Fallout game, and yeah, I definitely say a better ending, a more impactful ending, plays a role there. Like, generally speaking, I would think a run and gun scenario shooting gallery that was a lot longer, just from the beginning of Hoover Dam all the way to the very southeast part of the map. Just a whole bunch of people shooting at you, probably without Securitrons supporting everything. On the story, I wouldn't be surprised if they are leaving it room for either Yes Man to be the new bad guy in a sequel, if a sequel is ever made, which it won't be, or for Mr. House to secretly have programmed his brain patterns into Yes Man, although that doesn't seem like that's really the case. There's a lot of talk here of making New Vegas independent and making a new country, and that undoubtedly feels like the right answer. The whole Poseidon energy angle didn't lead to anything. It feels like there could have been a couple more vaults, but frankly, it could have been the same amount of vaults, but the vaults could have been better written and more interested. Definitely want more voice acting instead of reading. That is going to make it helpful. But yeah, inherently, I definitely would suggest just playing the first Borderlands game in a direct contrast to this game. It's a weird comparison, I know, but the light RPG elements and the much heavier focus on valuable guns, breaking down and selling invaluable or worthless guns, or low worth guns, I guess, it just balances everything better. We are probably 120 hours into this game. If 60 hours had been removed because I wasn't picking up vendor trash, because I wasn't trying to repair and just play menu hero with the poor menu system, which, yeah, I like the concept of the Pip-Boy, but they need to hire new people with new ideas as far as the user interface and smooth it down completely. What is a special thanks here? Somebody for giving up Dad. That seems like there's some very ridiculous special thanks here. That's crazy though, that you would be able to give a special thanks to people when you're saying giving up Dad. I think that assumes that they stopped fighting somebody who was on life support, and that's like really dark and grim to put it as a special thanks in a game. Yeah. So here's the cast. We can see Matthew Perry is very possibly a celebrity. In fact, I think all of these are celebrity voice actors. Ron Perlman may be the voice actor in all the games, so I won't complain too much about that. But yeah, Raul's Danny Trejo. Yep, they definitely wasted way too much money. Veronica's Felicia Day. Yes Man is Dave Foley. Oh yeah, they wasted way too much money hiring famous celebrities to be video game voice actors, particularly considering how celebrities and face actors, movie and TV actors, are just not really the same kind of actor that you need for a video game. You need voice actors that can do multiple voices and also not become just incredibly identifiable. I won't go as far as to say that the voices always took me out of the immersion of the game, but there definitely were times where you would have certain things. Will Wheaton played Robo-Brain, apparently. I'm not sure I even ran into Robo-Brain. But this would have been definitely a time when Will Wheaton was slightly more popular, and having a bit of a resurgence. It didn't last that long. But yeah, there definitely were times where you'd have voices not matching the faces of the characters. This game probably was supposed to feel a lot more cowboy-ish. I don't really feel like you get too much of that, though. Inherently, you would struggle to find people who could do a good cowboy voice acting character without it coming off ridiculously exaggerated. We're getting all the credits for the DLC, which, like, inherently, I guess there's a character named God/Dog. I might have to just load a previous save too, because if this doesn't let me continue from where I was, I can't do any of the DLC content. And it definitely feels like the intention is to just have people do the DLC content when they're at a certain level. It also feels like, now that we're seeing the credits, 50 may be the max level of a character. And then there are definitely some perks I would have liked to get. I definitely am of the perspective here that playing this game modded for your first playthrough makes a lot of sense. Getting that interior lighting mod to just make things brighter makes a lot of sense. Getting an anti-crash mod so it's less crashy makes a lot of sense. But also getting a over encumbrance mod that so you can just carry all the items you ever would want to carry is not going to change the game too much for you, and it will give you a much better experience. There's almost an argument for an infinite ammo mod too, if such a thing exists, because the ammo system here is not accomplishing its goal particularly well as far as trying to get you to switch between different guns. Inherently, because of the over encumbrance issue, you're not encouraged to carry different guns. And so since you're not encouraged to carry guns, you wouldn't have the gun you need to switch around and play with as soon as you potentially ran out of bullets of a different class of gun. So on a modern perspective of that, I would think making a game where you can just hold a very large amount of guns in your inventory, that would be better towards moving you towards the main gameplay mechanic that you would want to focus on, which is having people running and gunning. This game doesn't have running in it. That's a major thing that needs to be improved. People in 2024 are very much ADHD, if not technically in their activities they are like that. So giving a player the ability to run and move twice as fast is just something that should be default in almost every game. The whole dialogue conversation setup, I think, needs to be improved. I have certainly seen games where you get prompted for dialogue and then there is just always a dialogue option at the very bottom that says just shoot this person in the face, just go with violence. I think flipping that in the other direction might be better for a lot of games where you start at interactions, and if somebody is hostile to you, they just start shooting at you, and then maybe there's just a button that says parlay. Like, you probably wouldn't use that phrase, parlay, hold fire, something like that, let's talk. Frankly, even integrating it more like a movie where two people are shooting at each other and then they're also yelling at each other and having a conversation would be an intriguing new concept to try to add to video games, so that particularly in this game, since it is still using the VATS and doing dice rolls, it would make a lot of sense that you could say a line of dialogue or just shoot at a person. It still wouldn't be very action-based, though, and I think most people would just prefer action-based. Which means you should probably make your game where the default way in which half of the people are going to play is that they're going to run and shoot at people, and then you're going to search that person's body, and then you're going to find a key or a quest item that will move the quest forward. And then if you want to actually have conversations, you need non-aggressive characters who can talk to you while you're walking, while you're running to the next aggressive character. There is, in Fallout games, always this point where you're just locked down into a position and somebody is walking up to you and it's starting that conversation mechanic. I'm not sure that we aren't going in circles with these credits, but I think we still are going in a straight direction. It's just incredibly long amount of credits. This is also, I guess, something to highlight. We need credits, yes. They need to be serious credits, though, and not have, like, Rat War as a forum moderator be listed. We need people's real names listed. So, yeah. But there also needs to be a independent website created at some point where it's like IMDb for people who worked on video games, because there is frankly an epidemic of people who don't get credited in video games. People, if they quit or leave their job or get fired before the game releases, it has been in the past and even today fairly common for video game companies to not list them in the credits, which might be almost reverse slander to say somebody, to intentionally exclude somebody from the credits and make it harder for them to claim that they worked on a game and get other jobs in the industry, or just to be mean, or just to be rude. Of course, gamers hate the credits anyways, so the credits really in modern games should just be their own separate prompt and not something that pops up at the end of a game. The idea of credits making you slow down and think about what just happened in video games makes some sense, but it only works when you write a really good story, and I just don't think they write particularly good stories in video games on average. And see, this is just way too much. We do need to, in credits, get to the point of having 2-3 columns. People have 1080p screens or 2K screens or 4K screens. It is still very readable to have 2 or 3 columns of text in the credits scroll upward. And by having just these random load screens in the background, and they're distracting you with unimportant load screens instead. Oh man, I'm running out of things to even say. The credits are so long. So many people worked on this game that undoubtedly, I suspect what happened here is that there were multiple Bethesda subsidiaries that worked on content that would have been in Fallout 3, and then it all got added at the last second to Fallout New Vegas to make a new game, which did get Fallout New Vegas out in roughly about 4 years after Fallout 3. Here we have all the music that got content IDs for streamers, although in fairness, it's not like this game would have been out when a lot of people were streaming online, so I can't really blame them for not realizing that this music would have gotten claimed. But yeah, it is exhausting, this game, and the credits are following up with that same thought. almost done. The plan here, I guess I'll just say, is that we'll end this episode, and then next episode we'll jump back in the game, and we will collect all the items and search those two environments that we just kind of ran through. The theme of gambling and money doesn't really play a role here. You would have thought there would have been something that says that, where they just said, give me 10,000 caps and I will leave. I'll take a bribe. Just, you'd think that that would be an option. Seems like all this music they got courtesy, or they're claiming they got for courtesy. But I can tell you Heartaches by the Numbers and It's a Sin are two of the songs I believe that are caught by Content ID. The ones that are run by Sony. But yeah, I don't know what you could really do with money. You do see some improvements of what little I know about Fallout 4 since I haven't actually played it. In that it does seem like with the settlement idea, you can spend more resources and use the junk that would be in this game to build up settlements. The contrast to that, though, is there's really only about 3 pre-made cities in Fallout 4, where Fallout 3 had a lot more pre-made cities. And if we're going to compare New Vegas to Fallout 3, I think Fallout 3 is better in every way. I might just be being nostalgic. I think with mods, and if you just were going to play the game over and over again, it probably would be better to play New Vegas over replaying Fallout 3. But as a single player experience that you're only going to play once, maybe twice, Fallout 3 would be my suggestion between the two games. And I definitely do question whether it wouldn't have been wiser for them to take the content that would have been the foundation of New Vegas and make that Fallout 4, and then Fallout 4 might have been an amazing game that would have come out a little bit earlier. They may very well have just split their efforts when they should have just had Fallout 4 be the next big thing. And in particular, Bethesda is now in a unique, weird position that they kind of need to rush out the next Elder Scrolls game, Skyrim 2, roughly. Well, it won't really be called Skyrim 2, but they need to rush that out because there is so much pressure now because of the Fallout TV series to make a new Fallout game of some sort. Although I would argue maybe some spin-off games that play very differently might work better than just making a Fallout 5. And Bethesda has just been too slow in game development in general. Having played this game, or the main story of this game, I don't really see that much that's likely to actually be in the Fallout TV series. The Fallout TV series could easily make 6-8 episodes that have a few Easter eggs to New Vegas, but don't really have to focus too much on any of the events and the stories of New Vegas. It may be a case where we don't see any Nightkin or super mutants in Season 2 of the Fallout TV series. It may be very much the case that you see one Securitron at most. It may be that you go down the New Vegas Strip for a second. One thing about the Fallout TV series is that they really weren't big on making sets. So maybe Season 2 will get a bigger budget and do more of that. But otherwise, you may just see a CGI depiction of the strip, and that's it. And then the vast majority of the rest of it is going to take place in the desert, which will look like any other desert. I'm not sure too many people in 2024 are using the Havoc video engine. I believe it's a video rendering engine. Really, I think still a lot of people are using SpeedTree, although in this case there were barely any trees in the game. Bing Video, Havoc may be an audio engine. And yes, we have confirmation that this was built on the Gamebryo engine, with also FaceGen engine. The Gamebryo engine was modified to make the Creative Engine, which Creative Engine version 2 is what the most recent Bethesda games are. And then I can also say one more wild card around all of this would be Microsoft acquired Bethesda several years ago, but in Microsoft's acquisition of more and more companies, they made an agreement with the Communication Workers of America, a union, to allow employees to unionize, vote to unionize if they wanted to. This was done to get the US government to not have as much of a chance of stopping the Activision Blizzard merger from occurring. Well, that agreement has expanded to ZeniMax employees, which still wouldn't really be Obsidian employees, but it does throw in a wild card that at some point people at Bethesda may vote to unionize, and without getting into too much details there, that might change how things are done at Bethesda as far as games development goes. I would question, though, whether you really could blame unionization for affecting much at Bethesda if it even did happen. They just have the option to vote without Microsoft fighting it legally, which I don't know if you really would trust Microsoft to not fight it legally anyways, because an agreement between a union, CWA, and Microsoft doesn't hold that much authority. The Communication Workers of America, just for its backstory, were telephone operators. You know, dial 0 for operator, dial 611 for customer service, dial 411 for information, things like that. There are fewer and fewer people doing those jobs, so they have started to expand their target audience as far as unions or industries they would like to unionize to video games. But yeah, that also may be take years to happen, and almost certainly won't affect the next Elder Scrolls or the next Fallout game. And yeah, it could go either way, certainly. A unionized Bethesda might work faster, or it might work slower, or it might just work differently. So we finished the game here, and it says, congratulations on completing Fallout New Vegas. Would you like to load a save prior to the Hoover Dam battle? If you select no, you'll be returned to the main menu. So you just have to go yes. Okay. Well, this is annoying. So what this tells me is that we can get a different ending if we play the final section again.
I'm sure pissing off a ruthless... Right.
So we have that as an option. Where's Eddie? He's over here. And weirdly, it does seem like there's more things that you can maybe talk to some of the other companions about based on those endings. But yeah, that's fairly annoying. And I guess we'll do this one at the bottom first, as far as the quest goes. So there's only that one opportunity to go to the Legate's camp. So once you walk towards the gate of the Legate's camp after dealing with the Legate, that you never get to look at that camp again, and picking up any items at the Legate's camp doesn't matter. So there's a whole unique item at the Legate's camp you can't actually pick up and use, which seems ridiculous. There is an opportunity, I suppose, to think about blowing up the dam next time. I want to end the game after we do all the DLC. But yeah. So this is where we'll go. That we will activate this crashed satellite, and we'll see if this just takes us to a completely different location, which is what I expect will happen.
I'm sure you'll be...
Yep. I probably won't be able to use the missile launcher as much as I would like either. So I kind of find that somewhat disappointing that there's nothing here that I can really engage with. It also feels like the gun crafting stuff might just be in the DLC too, and I kind of question how long each of these DLCs are going to be, or if maybe some of these DLCs are just going to give us quests to run around the world. In the end, because it's all tied to siding mostly with the NCR until the very end, I'm not really getting a New Game Plus experience that I would have liked to see here. And at some point I might even consider just bringing up the difficulty settings and seeing what that would have changed. Yep. Good, I guess turn off some of these autosaves. I would never recommend that. The whole heads-up display being orange never worked for me as a concept. What is specularity fade? Let's turn that up. See what that does. Yeah, and I guess I'm gonna say I don't really have anything else to say here. So this is a good point to end this episode. We'll start the next episode to start DLC. And then with any luck we will be able to get a few more levels. Otherwise I have no idea what to do. Like, I know there are some places I could run around and hunt and grind, but any kind of goal as far as getting all of your special to 10-10-10 is impossible without cheating. I could probably do it with console mode, but who cares? There is an argument on a second playthrough to just start with 10 skill points in each of your special attributes. We aren't at 100 as far as each of the actual skills, not the special skills, like barter and speech. And at best I have 11 more levels to get that up if I can get enough XP, but I'm not 100% sure we have enough XP to actually get to the max level in the game. The hope is the DLC is longer, enough to have that happen. The hope is also that the DLC might be just a little bit more varied, a little bit more interesting, and had you played the game with the DLC in mind and actually played it when you could have played it, perhaps it would have been nice little refreshing breaks throughout the whole experience and a better experience overall. But that certainly would be a post-release experience. It wouldn't be the experience that people would have had when the game first came out, before the DLC was available. And the experience like that is close to what we've just seen, which I'm not very impressed with. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, and keep on watching. Thanks.